So, trading card games present a unique opportunity to players, game communities, and the folks invested in companies like Wizards, for example, to interact with their market in ways that video games, comic books, traditional board games do not. Now, while all these kinds of nerddom tend to be lumped together in the present day nerd culture, they often do meet at the same conventions. They often frequent the same places. They even game together sometimes across platforms. It is really trading card games or collectible card games that have drawn the attention of multiple generations of gamers and brought them together under the same roof, not only in that they share a love for the hobby, but also in that they play the same games together in a way unique to the genre itself. Now, while in video games, adults can prefer more or less more narrative driven, single story, one player games, kids tend to prefer more of the action oriented, fast paced games like Fortnite, Call of Duty. uh, you see that divide in video games. You don't tend to see that across CCGs. The flavor of CCG appeals to both kids and adults alike, as they revel in their love of collectible paper in any of those forms. Now, what has the past told us about how these games are marketed? Who are they aimed at? What can that inform regarding speculation of the future of collectible card games? I'm here with a panel from the MTG Rebellion, here to discuss their own experiences and perhaps take a stab at where things are possibly going. I'm your host, Max Damage. This is Rebelcast, episode 24. Let's get into it. All right, so I am here with GriffinRider MTG, Optimal MTG, and Luis Dragon MTG, and they're here to talk about this topic and more. We are also going to tonight speculate on ban announcements. So I want to hear from each of you first. GriffinRider MTG, how are you today? How have you been this past week? What's been going on in your life?
I'm doing great. Fall has finally hit the Midwest. It's cooled off a little bit. We are enjoying not sweltering anymore. So
Oh God, yeah, here
it's
too.
it's a good week. It's a good week.
That's great. That's great. Optimal, it's been a couple weeks since we've heard from you. What's been going on in your life? How's the competitive scene? What are you up to?
Hey everyone, glad to be back. I've definitely disappeared for a while. Had lots of traveling. What was it? Month ago, I I traveled to an event in like Hamilton, Ontario. Then the weekend after, I went to Fredericton, New Brunswick. Then the week after, I went to Las Vegas for MagicCon.
Oh yeah.
And then last weekend, I went to Calgary, Alberta for a regional championship. So it's kind of my first weekend back, and then I got a couple more weekends until I head off to Madison, Wisconsin for CubeCon. So it's been pretty hectic, pretty busy for me. From a competitive front, I've been playing a bunch of Modern and Pioneer for the most part. Um, we could talk about bans when we get to them today.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
I feel there's some changes that need to be made. But other than that, it's been all right. Just glad to be back, chilling at home, and happy to have a conversation with y'all this podcast.
Oh yeah. Glad to have you back. Glad to have your perspective. Uh, Lastly, we have Luis Dragon MTG. What's going on, Luis? What is up?
What's up?
And talk to us about just what you've been up to in the game of Magic, and just what's going on with you. What are you excited about?
Hey, thanks for having me again. These weeks I'm leading heavy into the ladder because I want to hit Mythic this month. So I've been playing more standard than I usually do, and I have seen a lot in the meta. It's fun, but I think it needs some changes. Also, we had last week the wars, so no, 15 days ago the wars. So now I'm just like waiting on see if we are having some changes with the new bands, and just keep playing in the showdowns for the moment.
Okay, awesome. And you'll get a chance to talk about what you think they should ban, what you think they should do, and look at in MTG pretty soon. I can't wait, honestly, to stir the pot with that discussion. But first, I have some questions for each of you. I want to talk about. We have up on the screen for the folks at home just the graphic from Disney's Lorcana, the new TCG. It's already been out for a while. We've heard about the fact that they've had supply problems. It's been an issue for content creators and players alike to get their hands on some cards, honestly. And I don't think they have any digital format to speak of yet. I haven't heard of anything coming either. And the last thing, really, on the bottom end of the whole discussion is this idea that it's the collectors, the people who just collect Disney stuff, that are really buying up all the product, and it's not really getting to the hands of people who are actually trying to play the game or try the game out for the first time, which, you hate to hear about it. Even if you're just a fan of Magic the Gathering, you hate to hear that kids' dreams get squashed. They want to play this game. They want to get into CCGs in general. You want to celebrate that, and unfortunately, the supply problems are affecting things, and they still are a couple months out from what I hear. So, in light of Lorcana's release, the supply issues, we've got the release of some games that have been pointed out to me, like One Piece, right? We had the Netflix show. The anime's been out for quite some time. It's over 1,100 episodes now. I think it's reached that margin. That's crazy to me, by the way, that something has lasted that long. You have YuGiOh coming back in paper and digital. You have Pokemon coming back. Not that it really needs to come back. It never went away. But it's surging back with its second iteration of its live game online. So you have all these competitors to Magic the Gathering, what they're trying to do with MTGO, what they're trying to do with MTG Arena, and then, of course, paper. My question for you guys is Arena still the only major game in town in terms of digital? MTGO is there as well. Is Magic the Gathering the holder of the market share for collectible card games still? Is it the dominant game in town? Or are these other games potentially in the near future going to take chunks out of Wizards' investment in Magic and Hasbro? And does that really matter to the health of the game? That's really the big question. Focus more on that latter question if you can. But first, I want to start with Luis. Luis, how do you see this?
From the Mexican point of view, we don't have any Lorcana. There is no cards. We only have the starter decks are like, will you say $80 each starter deck if you want to find them on Amazon? But any store is having them. Because if you're saying once, I was expecting yet to come out, and so the stores that I have visited, they don't have really anything of Lorcana. So I don't have really much an idea if it's having an impact or no. Talking especially about Lorcana, I have my doubts if the game will survive. But it's being made by Ravensburger, that it's a very, very cool store that has great puzzles and great board games. So the fact that if they are affecting Magic or no, Magic is in his own problems. Here in Mexico, we have new stores coming out for trading card games, and they don't want to get Magic. Not because it's bad. There are a lot of people that like it, but it's very expensive. Pokemon is much more accessible for a store to start selling. The boxes are way more cheaper. The problem now that YuGiOh has that also is losing stores, mainly in Japan, because they are printing expansions every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks. They had made some reprints that had said, well, the 25th anniversary was a fail. The cards weren't selling out, and extremely as a difference from Magic, that normally you have a boxer set and the boxer set stays in the same price and doesn't diminish. YuGiOh is now suffering that some booster sets are diminishing so much in price that the stores are losing like $1,000 from 10 booster sets that they have bought. So a lot of stores, especially in Japan, where the game is originally, and Japan tends to be very supportive of their own IPs of their own country, they are stop having Yu-Gi-Oh, especially for example in Akihabara. That is like, I mean, I have never had the fortune to go to Japan, but I know that it's like the nerd place to get all this anime thing and everything. So it's very impressive that Konami is literally killing the cow by milking it very dry. So I wish that Wizards of the Coast has see this in their neighbors. And I like, for example, I like the Doctor Who cards, and I like the things that are coming, but I sometimes think that it's too much. They are printing too much cards, they are printing too much sets, they are not balancing very well, because Throne of the Eldraine has very good cards, but like the most impactful card that they have, it's an uncommon. And let's say it's a little bit disappointing from my point of view. That's my opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Luis. And thank you for talking about the supply issues in Mexico and how that's really affected your opinion. Of course, that's going to be the first thing that affects someone's opinion is accessibility. And to me, that's important as well, even living in the US, how accessible these card games are, and that matters the most, honestly, because I grew up in the card game comic book shop, used video game store atmosphere where all those things were around me, and the price of things is what mattered to me the most back then, whether I got into something or not. And I'll tell you what, Pokemon was very accessible. Magic the Gathering back then was very accessible, and some other card games that we'll talk about in just a minute were very accessible to me as well. Going down memory lane, I won't bring them up just yet. I want to hear more from some of you guys. Optimal, you come from a little bit of a different atmosphere. In Canada, there might be a little bit more of or a totally different supply issue up there with specific things in the past. What are your experiences with other card games? Have you played other card games in your past? How do you feel about these new ones coming up and old ones becoming popular again? Are they a threat to MTG? How do you feel?
So I like to think Magic is similar to. Sorry, I'd like to think that Canada is similar to the US in terms of accessibility and so forth. If we're talking about other card games that are new, basically every year it's the same doomsayers, right? Where people are always saying, "Oh, this new game came out. It's called One Piece. A lot of people are just gonna stop playing Magic. We're gonna all go do that." Then there was another year of Flesh and Blood. Do you remember Flesh and Blood? Flesh and Blood, right?
I sure do.
Game. Like,
oh yeah,
like my understanding at this point is that every year there's gonna be a new game that comes out. It's kind of a trend of we're gonna create a new game. People are gonna test it out because like, oh, it's so cool, and then they realize either there's supply issues, or there's power level issues, or there's the company spent too much, so now they're going down, they're going under. Do you remember Forceville? Remember the game Forceville? So it's like these things are gonna happen every year. For me, from my perspective, I continue to stick with Magic. Right, Magic continues to do what they do. As much as we may not like it for the choices and decisions they choose to make on a yearly basis, mostly because we just got out of pandemic, right? I do think Magic is continuously back on the rise, as we've seen in recent moments of the opens, right, that they've done in the Magic Cons. I would not be surprised if within the next year and a half, 24 or 25, that we'll see a GP circuit come back. So I do believe Magic right now as a whole, in terms of organized play, is really pushing to get competitive back in for paper, right? Only problem for like standard right now is Arena, but I'm sure eventually they'll figure something out for it, right? Because they've been making movements with you go to your LGS, you get some XP for Arena, but it's got to start from somewhere. And I think a lot of people usually be like, well, if we don't have it right away, it means that they're not doing it fast enough. And I'm like, let's just give them time. Who cares? It doesn't matter, right? Where are we going? We got nowhere to go, right? As long as they're giving us something, that's all I'm happy about. But as for other games, a few years back, a couple of years before COVID, one of my friends got me back into Pokemon for a little bit, and I tell you, I played a regionals where it was the standard of like Buzzwall, Tapu Lele, Lycanroc, that standard, right? And after that event, I didn't want to touch Pokemon anymore because there's just so much.
Oh
Like you have
god.
no idea how much searching goes on in that game. If it's
Yeah.
not, if it's not draw 7, discard your hand, draw 7, or it's not search your card, search your deck for a card, and then you pass your deck to the opponent to shuffle, and then they take it. But instead of like shortcutting, they just like, here, shuffle my deck. All right, shuffle, send it back to you. Okay, I'm gonna search for another card. Shuffle my deck. All right, pass back. Oh, I'm gonna search my deck again, and then shuffle. And then I'm gonna draw 7. Oh, and then I'm gonna tutor again. I'm like,
It's a
okay.
game of
And then
tutors.
yeah. And then every round, I was like, okay, can you just let me know what your line of game actions are right now? Like, if you're planning to tutor for 3 different things, can you just do it all in one go, and then I'll shuffle right at the end of it? And they're like, I don't understand what you mean. And I'm like, oh my god. But this is coming from a background of Magic, right? Where
Yep. Yep.
we're used to shortcutting. Like the
Yep.
whole basis of Magic the Gathering is shortcutting.
Yep.
Like you save so much time by doing that. But other card games don't understand. And it blows my mind and I'm confused and I'm like, this is worse than playing against Sensei's Divining Top. Like it's just logistically,
Oh,
if you
man.
lose game 1, you are either winning game 2 to get the draw, or you're losing game 2 and taking a loss. Like you cannot lose game 1. It's horrible. So
Yeah. I yeah, Pokemon, oh my gosh. I don't talk about it because I come from that background of playing Pokemon, but people who are like, specifically the people who are like, all right, I'm going back to Pokemon, I'm gonna quit Magic. I giggle inside. I don't say anything out loud, but I giggle inside because I just remember how many of those games are coin flips. How many of those games come down to like just 50-50 things that are outside your control, and how much of it is tutoring for the card that you need. And yeah, like you said, discarding drawing 7, discarding drawing 7, it does get kind of old. Which is, I thought personally that Pokemon TCG Live, the online version, was going to make that fun again for me because it would automate some of that, but no. Like I tried that for a week and it did not work. But I like to collect the shiny cards, and that's where I started. So I still have my Pokemon collection. GriffinRider MTG, what's your background? Did you play any other TCGs growing up? How do you
You
feel about
know,
any of this?
my history is all in Magic. Like I grew up with high school in the 90s playing at the lunch table. That's my background with trading cards. But I guess to touch on the Lorcana issue, if they want to get more people into the game while they're having production issues, we know the path to take. We've seen it. Allow proxies until they get their production issues straightened. Say we'll give you like a 2-year window. You can proxy whatever you want, get into the game, and stay here. And then they can help foster a fan base that isn't sitting here going, I need $800 for a competitive deck. No thanks. But and then I guess as far as other trading card games go, getting in on the Magic space, getting in on that market share, to touch on what Optimal said, the closest game we've seen is Flesh and Blood, and it has a decent following still, but it's never going to touch what Magic is. Like the SCG cons, like half the building is there to play Flesh and Blood, and they coexist, and we can do that together. Like they have their audience, we have our audience. It's, at the end of the day, the only person that's gonna hurt MTG's market share is WotC themselves. They're gonna keep reprinting stuff into the ground, which is gonna hurt the card store's overhead. And if we don't have any place to buy cards, then what's left?
Now, talk to me, GriffinRider. I want to press you on this one because there's been a lot of talk online on social media about who's at fault for this, what's at fault for this. Because on the one hand, people are like, okay, they've made cards more accessible, they've printed a lot, they've created a huge supply, and they've done that in the interest of making the game more accessible, more new players. And that's good on one hand, but on the other hand, it hurts, supposedly, at least from this argument's perspective, it hurts the LGS or the collector or the people who buy singles. And so we've seen recently this announcement from Troll and Toad, right? That, they've been in the game for so long, for 20 plus years, and they're getting out of the MTG market. What does this mean? Is it really hurting the LGS to make the game more accessible? Uh, what's your take on all this, on Troll and Toad backing out? What does that mean for the health of Magic the Gathering?
I do think we're going to continue seeing a dip in the number of actual brick and mortar LGSs. The ones that are going to survive are the ones that have an audience that's already buying sealed product. Because at the end of the day, if we keep seeing singles tank, the only thing left is gonna be sealed product. And from what we kind of infer, there isn't a whole lot of overhead on sealed product.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna end up seeing the major players like Card Kingdom and Star City Games being our major outlet for singles, because they're probably going to be the only one that can cover that kind of loss when these cards get reprinted into the dirt.
Yeah. What's your take on it? Should they keep reprinting to make things more accessible, or keep going with the health of the singles market?
I'm not a huge fan of our current reprint model. Like, we had, what was it, doubling season printed twice in a month.
Yeah.
Like, there's a way to reprint that doesn't feel like too much, and right now it feels like they're trying to make every single set special, and it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Like, if the base product for Ixalan is good enough, you don't need 6 different printings of Mana Crypt in it. But they're not putting the R&D into the set itself. They're trying to rest on the reprint selling the set.
Yeah, you might be right about that. Optimal MTG, tell me, what's your take on this, on the singles market versus heavy reprinting? What do you think? What's better for the health of the game?
I guess my first question is going to be: Are we disregarding the whole point of what's happening because of the commander market
Hmm.
and how
Uh,
the casual market has had a big influence on what's getting reprinted in current day form? Like, I'm pretty sure the competitive market does not care about reprintings of Mana Crypt, Doubling Season, um, Smothering Tithe, and these cards, right? Like, we're happy to see a reprinting of Cavern of Souls, but that's also good because Cavern of Souls is in the actual main set for the upcoming set, Lost Caverns of Ixalan, right?
mhm.
But think about a chunk of those cards that just got reprinted from the card list in the set we just had, Wilds of
Wilds of
Eldraine,
Eldraine.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how many of those cards are competitive playable? Very little. But they're getting reprinted because commander players and the casual market are saying, I want these cards printed to the ground so that I can pay $3 for this one card I want for my deck. And because of that, when you're printing everything to the ground to appease that market, at what point will customer confidence remain high, right?
Yeah.
So I guess where's the middle ground? Because unfortunately, we've seen a big shift since COVID. Like a lot of, like I'm gonna keep coming back to COVID in our conversations here
I
because
mean, it changed
we,
things.
yeah, because we know that before COVID hit, the car market was heavily driven by competitive gameplay. But ever since COVID, that's when the casual market took over, and everything else started to become expensive because if it sees playing Commander, there's more people buying it than apparently competitive players are buying.
And that's so ironic and counterintuitive because on the one hand, the commander market, the EDH market is very proxy friendly, much like the legacy and vintage market. So you don't expect that, but the whales, right? The whales make up for more than that with their demand for commander decks. I was just going to point out really quickly before I got to Luis Dragon, because I wanted to ask his take as well. Fey Dominion, I can't remember if it was Fey Dominion. It might have been the Virtue and Valor deck from Wilds of Eldraine was like completely identical to some other deck that had come out in Commander Masters. It might have been the enchantment deck. I can't remember, but a lot of the reprints were like the same, from what I hear, and it was almost identical. Yet the price was just like bumped up $20 and didn't make any sense. But anyway, the level of reprintings, definitely a thing. We've all come to accept collector boosters and collector's editions of cards. We've just come to accept that. But you got to think about this. Like 3 years ago, that wasn't even a thing. Like 3 years ago, a booster pack was a booster pack. Now we have like 3 different kinds of booster packs. That you have to like wade through the definitions of what's in each booster pack if you want a specific printing of a card, much less just to get any copy of a card. Look at how much Sheldred costs. But anyway, we'll get to
And
bannings
that's
in
why
just
I
a
buy
second.
singles.
Yep,
I
buy
just buy
singles.
I
Buy
don't bother buying
singles.
products.
Exactly. Luis, what is your take on all of this? Do you buy singles when you look for a specific card? Are you buying paper cards at all? What's your take?
Yeah, I start buying some paper cards. Really, the seal product is extremely expensive. I mean, hmm, talking again from someone of my position in Mexico, I am in any way rich, but I have a pretty, let's say, stable situation when I can buy the things that I want. But also, I can't throw like $250 for a set collector boosters and let's see if I get what I want. For me, for a family of 3, that will be like 2 weeks of food. Putting in that perspective, it's a little more than 2 weeks of food, and I'm talking not only tortillas and frijoles. I'm talking like if you want, like shrimp, salmon,
Yeah,
good
steak.
stuff. So yeah. So when you put that on perspective, I mean, with the cost of a booster set, I can buy 2 games of PlayStation 5 nowadays and still have some change to spare. So, yeah, I think that the idea of buying single cards is the better way to have if you have an addict in mind. So that's why I love Arena. Because I really spend so little money in there, and I now and at this moment, with all the boosters that came with the Master Pass, I have all the set complete. So I don't need to buy anything else. I'm just saving more gems and coins for the next set.
Yeah.
The thing of reprinting singles, I am here to ask. Yeah, it does hurt very much the stores, but the players, are they hurt by the reprinting of the singles or not? Because that's the other thing that maybe Wizards of the Coast wants to do is some cards that aren't accessible anymore. I mean, you can find a Black Lotus anywhere. I don't know if it's playable uh, in any format, but a lot of cards you're not going to find them. They are extremely expensive. So I don't know if this is helping more the community but hurting the stores, or it's hurting everyone. In my opinion, is that like if Wizards want to keep the stores, they need to give them some preference. I don't know, maybe making a program instead of they being sealed product just to get the cards, selling them the singles in a better in a special price, so they can make their own market with the single cards and maybe be something better for the stores. But at the end of the day, the player is the most important thing. I mean, the customer for any empresa, for Wizards of the Coast, or if they want to make money, the customer paying them is the most important thing. So I think that that's why we are seeing so much reprints, because
Yeah.
a lot of players want spend money in a deck that it's a card, especially a card that sees like over $200. I mean, it's like a box of set booster box. I mean, that's my opinion in the matter.
Yeah, it's ridiculous the price of collector booster boxes and how you only get like half the cards in them now. They've even shrunk down what the booster pack sizes are for those as well. But oh my gosh, like we're looking on the screen right now at the product displays for like Commander Masters, and you see at the top of the screen, buy now, right? Your local store. You can look at a database, see what local stores has them. But then Amazon and Best Buy are the next two links, and it's like you gotta wonder if mom and pop stores are competing with Amazon and Best Buy, how well are they doing? Like, is this really, when we say we're helping the LGS, don't the same initiatives help Amazon and Best Buy unless they're initiatives based on events? And I want to close this segment out by talking about just really briefly, like I saw on social media today the cost of events going up, and a lot of the responses were like, well, the stores are going to make money on the rising cost of events, plus people buying you know boxes to house their decks in, and sleeves, like they got to buy sleeves somewhere. And I just thought to myself, like, is that how far we've come, that we don't even like we try to think of ways they buy snacks, right? Like they don't really make that much money off of that stuff, and they don't really make that much money off of the event cost either. So it's like whatever solution we come up with to help the LGS as is going to have to be much more nuanced than, oh, let's, raise the cost of events. But that's probably a conversation for another day. Let's go ahead and talk about the second thing that we wanted to talk about today, which is speculating about the ban announcements. And I want to get to each of you on this before I give my own take, if any at all, because you guys might steal my thunder and already know what I'm going to say. In particular, if you see me on social media, you see my opinion all the time is pretty universally is don't things, let the community solve it, right? Like that's really what I want. That's really what I want to err on the side of, is letting the community solve any. But guys, we have an extended rotation in standard. Historic is dead in the water, stale. We just had an Arena Championship 4 featuring Historic that only reached like about 3.7k average views on Twitch, which is, if you know from Worlds, from past championships and pro tours that they've used either Arena or paper to cover, they've reached much higher views than that. So that was really low. So talk to us. We have a ban announcement coming up. We have them talking about it. I hear the ban announcement is on the 16th. It could involve any format. I want to start with GriffinRider MTG. GriffinRider, what is your speculation on what bans are coming, if any at all, and what would you like to see banned, if anything at all?
I'll punt the main one. I'll let y'all have that. I for the sake of longevity, I think it's time Emperor got the hammer. We've seen enough of Wandering Emperor. I think if WotC wants to continue with this trend of making bans to improve gameplay and the speed at which games play, we need to ban some form of the Simic Cauldron combo deck. And I'm going to lean towards Cami of Whispered Hope because that's the older one out of it. Obviously, we don't want to ban Cauldron. We don't want to ban the fairy that the Fakehurst, whatever it is, the fairy that can untap. If we're gonna ban any part of that combo, it probably has to be Cami of Whispered Hopes. Beyond that, I really don't see anything that happened out of Wilds of Eldraine that changes any of the other formats in such a way that we need a ban that can't wait until after Ixalan. Like let's wait and see what Ixalan does. Like I know most of our formats are feeling kind of stale, but I mean maybe some unbans are in order here. Let's bring back some cards we haven't seen. I know there's a lot. I mean, there's always a lot of talk, but bring back Splinter Twin in Modern. Let's have some fun.
Oh my god.
Bring back Ponder. Why not? Let's throw some shit back into the formats and see what it does instead of take stuff out.
Hey, that's fair to me, honestly. Meat Hook Massacre, that would be legal still, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we can have Meat Hook back. I know a lot of people would like to see Meat Hook wipe some boards out again.
Yeah. That would be wild. Yeah, the alchemy version just won't do. Let's get the full-fledged Meat Hook Massacre bag. Oh man. All right. Yeah, I like the idea of unbans. Optimal MTG, what would you like to see banned, possibly unbanned, and where do you actually see Wizards coming down on these?
What did I just hear? Meat Hook Massacre? What are we talking about? What is this? Okay. So I didn't even wait. So the ban announcement was that announced last week? Did it just come out of the blue, or is this something that's been known for a while at this point? Because I didn't know about it until like last week when someone said to me, "Oh, did you hear of it? There's a ban announcement." I'm like, "What?" So I mean, it's cool. It's cool that they're doing a ban announcement. I do like the idea of that. So it's with the 16th, right? It's two. Is it Monday? The following Monday, right? 2 Mondays from now?
Yeah. 2 Mondays.
Okay. So, okay. If I'm going to talk about the main formats. So standard. So I was upset that they didn't think about banning Shieldred the last time that we had ban announcement. I am very happy that they banned Fable, Bankbuster, and Invoke Despair.
Mm-hmm.
If they do ban anything for standard, I think the format is literally 1, maybe 2 bans away from being amazing again. So I think ban Shieldred, and from what Griffin just said, it did actually just pop in my mind that Wandering Emperor has started to become more and more annoying than it has ever been before. So I would not mind if Wandering Emperor also got banned too. But I think first on the docket is ban Shieldred and just be done with it. That's it. Because we're going to have 2 more years, or at least another year and a half of Shieldred. And just like, at least Wandering Emperor is going away in like 8 months? 8 months, right? Like, it's in its last year, and then it's rotating.
Yeah.
But Shieldred stays around because Dominaria United is the first set of the new rotation. So it's
right.
Yeah. So I'm fine with those. Pioneer, I still want to see Karn the Great Creator gone from Monogram. I still want to see Fable gone from the black-red variables. And because Phoenix apparently is back now due to the reprinting of Sleight of Hand, so I'm back again on wanting Treasure Cruise to be looked at for ban.
Ooh, okay.
And then in Modern, oh gosh, Modern. I don't know what to do about that format at this point.
I was gonna say.
I know that in the chat I wrote but I want to see probably the One Ring gone. But we're probably still gonna have to wait until at least next year for that to be gone. So I don't know. But I am of the belief at this point that Leyline Binding might need to see the axe. It's at this point it's got a little too convenient, as we know, perfect mana is basically the MO of Modern at this point. Having a 1 mana removal spell in tandem with Up the Beanstalk, I think it's got to go at this point.
Oh yeah, is Up the Beanstalk seeing play too in Modern?
Oh yeah, it's one of the best cards of Modern right now. You play that alongside the One Ring, and like the Omnath decks are approaching Yorion levels once again.
How do you feel about the One Ring? Why not ban the One Ring?
Well, I want to, but I don't think Wizards wants to yet because they still have the Christmas bundle.
God, that's right. They got to sell product.
Yeah. So I don't think it gets banned until at least February.
Yeah. God dang it. Okay.
So yeah, so I would say at least Leyline Binding. I think Leyline Binding might be at its limit. It might have to go now. But other than that, the rest of the format's really up and down. You just don't know what's coming, what's going. It's all over the place. Oh yeah, and Violent Outburst. I've been wanting Violent Outburst gone for a while now, even though I play Rhinos a fair amount. I just don't think it's fair enough for decks like Cascade to have access to instant speed cascading with force and negation backup for free. Right? They should be forced to work for it. So like Shardless Agent I like, but if you want an instant speed cascade spell, it needs to be 4 mana.
That makes sense. Luis, talk to me. What would you like to see banned? I have an idea of what you're about to say, but I want you to speak your truth.
Let's skip the fabrics and we'll let you talk about that. GriffinRider, excellent idea. Yeah, the Wandering Emperor has to go. And I would like to see Midhook return because we are having a little too much token decks for my pleasure. And Black doesn't have any reliable removal.
Not really, no.
I mean, since I started playing, I remember that Black was the one that killed everything. But now that's the best, the spot for White. White has the most removal in the game. So another
would
thing, if we can, sorry.
Would you like to see any White removal get banned?
Yeah, one of two. Sunfall or goodbye. What?
Farewell.
Farewell. Goodbye.
Yeah. No, that's a good translation.
Go have yourself, please.
Yeah, really. That's what that card says.
I mean, the thing with White that it's removed from the game. It's painful because all the pretty great cards that we have right now, that Monster at Night that came back, and you have to plan how to kill them, because I mean, if you're playing black, it's not easy to kill. So you're going for go to the throat, and I have my anything for remove from the graveyard. So you have to plan to kill a card, and then you have White that is like, I'm just waiting you for attack, and I have like 6 forms of removal when you are attacking, or Wandering Emperor, or let's wait for the next turn to remove everything, and I still have a 50-50 token.
Yeah.
So I think that White and Blue have made so much synergize that they don't do anything, and they are stopping you. They don't play anything in their turns. They have a flashy whale. I know GriffinRider loves it. So, I mean, that combination for me makes a game a little too stale. Going against control, and just seeing them waiting like 15 minutes in their turn to see what land are going to play. And then when you want to play something, it's always a stick. And is it going to play? Is it not going to play? Is it going to go down? Is it not going to down? You need to play with sacrifices. If I want to attack, I need to sacrifice a card bringing it down, because it's going to be counter, or if I attack, they are going to kill me a card with the Wandering Emperor. So for standard, I would like to see, first of all, I don't know if any other card needs removal, but Farewell for me would be the great. I mean, it kills everything and only leaves the Planeswalker, and I'm impressed that we don't have seen such a heavy meta with Planeswalkers, because they are painful to kill at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they've limited us to 1%. I think is part of why.
But we have very good Planeswalkers right now. I think it will be good enough to make an Esper Friends deck with them. But well, for historic,
yeah, go ahead.
The One Rings needs to go. But they just made it and pack it and sell it and sell it and sell it, and they didn't care about the things that are going to happen. So we are not going to see the One Ring removed. In historic, Sheldred needs to go.
Are those real printings?
That looks like a secret lair of the One Ring.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
Wild.
It's gonna be part of the winter release, I believe.
Okay.
Holy moly.
That's why they don't want to ban it.
Yeah, there's your reason right there.
There's a significant number of the cards in Lord of the Rings that are getting this 60s concert poster look.
LCD look. I don't like it, but well, personally.
Yeah, the One Ring. The One Ring has to go. I think everybody here agrees, right? Like, it's got to go, man.
Well, I think it's historic. You can ban whatever you want, because there's no printing, there's no cost, right, to the printing.
Yeah, they shouldn't have any. They shouldn't have any issue banning cards in digital formats. That's not selling packs.
Yeah.
The thing that they say, 3 weeks ago, I was watching when they go live. Some player asked them if they planned to make some changes to alchemy, because the alchemy meta was really still, but they say that they like where the alchemy meta was, and they are how to say it, very much occupied with the new products to make a new balance, or to ban cards, because with historic and alchemy you have the possibility to I mean, if the player has a One Ring and Sheldred, you have lost the game.
Yeah, pretty much.
No way to go out, and that's alchemy also.
Yeah.
So is Orcish Bowmaster, Sheldred, and the One Ring. Orcish Bowmaster. A lot of people are asking for their ban, because it's a star game. The one who plays it first is the one who's losing it, because it's also going in every deck. I wish instead of banning it, they can make changes. Like when it enters the game, when it enters play, doesn't do 1 damage. Now that could be very a good change, because a lot of cards that are important for the meta have 1 resistance, and this thing kills everything that has only 1 resistance. So
yeah, make it just when they draw a card.
Just when they draw a card.
Okay.
And that's my idea. Mainly for historic, Sheldred or the One Ring needs to go. If they are not killing the One Ring, Sheldred has to go.
Okay. Max Damage All Nines here, and I just want to acknowledge that this taping was done right before the announcement for the alchemy adjustments for the One Ring Orcish Bowmasters. So it's fun to watch us speculate about these cards in particular, now looking back, but yeah, a little editor. So anyways, back to the show.
Ban them all.
Ban them all. Yeah. I mostly agree with a lot of those opinions. The only nuance I'll add to the discussion is this, and it's something you've heard me say before, which is I hope whatever they decide to do, it's not absolutely nothing, and it's not absolutely everything. Like, I hope they find some kind of middle ground where they do ban some of these more problematic cards, but also consider something that GriffinRider's actually brought up in past discussions. Consider the fact that there might be cards downwind that become stronger if you ban, say, something like Wandering Emperor. Be wary of the fact that that might be protecting against other specific cards. Ban Wandering Emperor and ban Children. Don't just ban one or the other is a good example of what I'm talking about. But I want to thank each of you for giving us your opinion on these speculating on these bans. I really hope that they do something as opposed to nothing. And in my opinion, there are some shakeups that need to be made in Historic and Alchemy in particular, but also in some of the paper formats as well, just to shake things up. I'm all about changing things every now and again. Standard is sort of healthy in my opinion, but that doesn't mean it doesn't need bans to shake things up, make it more fun. I track more than 10 decks every week as doing part of the State of the Meta with the Dark Stream, and some of those decks shift in and out of those lists, and so I can say that there's still quite a bit of movement in Standard. But I agree, the ones that the decks in Tier 1 tend to share the same characteristic of, being Sheldred, Wandering Emperor. You see these cards time and time again, cards like Wedding Announcement, things like that, and some of these cards I think do deserve to at least get a second look. But in any case, I wanted to just close with that and with asking each of you guys where we can see you in the upcoming weeks, where you will be, and at the same time, give us your final thoughts on any of the stuff that we talked about. I'll start with GriffinRider. What are your final thoughts, and where can folks see you over the coming week?
Yeah, I'm not really sure I have much planned for next week. I know I've been bouncing back and forth between Mono Red and Reduke's domain list when I'm playing on the ladder. May do that. May take some time off. I don't know. I'm just in kind of one of those states where I'm kind of enjoying doing things other than Magic for a little while.
That's
But
fair.
on top of that, I've got the 75 card Omnath deck sleeved up, and I'm ready to hit some RCQs too. So
Oh yeah.
maybe it's time to play some paper instead. But I mean, obviously, we're once again in the middle of one of those doom and gloom cycles for WotC, and it's just going to be a wait and see. Let's see how we come out of this. I really hope they start toning it back a little bit, because the special printings, the secret layers, it all feels just a little too pushed and a little stale at this point.
Thank you for that take. I think a lot of people shared that opinion with you. You're in good company there. And I would encourage you as well to go back and play some paper. Paper definitely breaks the monotony with talking about Magic or just playing digital Magic. And I've found that recently myself. But Optimal, let's turn to you. What are your final thoughts on all of this? Anything that we mentioned tonight? And where can folks spot you over the coming weeks?
I think it's been good what we talked about. I'm hoping Wizards does justice on banning something this time around, as opposed to just unbanning something. I don't even know what they would unban this time around, if there was something to unban. I heard murmurs of Ponder, but that's kind of weird to me, because I don't know if you can afford to have Ponder and Preordain, both from bad and modern. I don't know. But overall, Griffin, I did recently, probably actually maybe a month ago at this point, I got my Canadian RC qualification for Season 5 done with the 60 card version of the Omnath One Ring deck with the spicy Fire Ice tech. So good. I love it. If you want to check it out. Otherwise, for me, yeah, you can find me just trying to hit Mythic on ladder this month. I'll also probably do some Vintage Cube drafts, because that's up for a couple of weeks now. And other than that, in a couple of weeks, I'll be off to Madison, Wisconsin for about 4 or 5 days to go play more Magic Cube at a convention.
Oh yeah, everybody loves Cube. But thank you, and everybody, go check out. I know Optimal, you like to document some of your competitive experiences. I encourage you to continue doing that. So I encourage people to go check that out on Optimal social media, at least on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and also occasion on stream. So I encourage you, and I hope that you make Mythic. That is, I know that's something you've been working towards now, and you got really close last month. I was really rooting for you, and I hope you. I think you have a better chance now, since Wilds of Eldraine's been out for a minute. If you're playing standard, but I know, what format are you trying to break with? Is it standard, or are you doing some
Standard.
explorer? Okay, yeah, that's
I
probably.
so I basically I run through a gauntlet of decks of standard.
Mhm.
Once I burn through all of them, then I'll move on to explorer and burn through all those.
Oh yeah, I'm the same way with that. Yeah, I have some decks I fall back on. All right, Luis Dragon, what? How are you doing in standard? That's a side question, but what are your final thoughts? Where can people spot you over the coming weeks?
Okay. Over the coming weeks, can find me playing arena in the ladder. Please don't ghost me. And always, as always, in the showdown, if everyone wants to play. And for the things we talk about, I hope Wizards of the Coast, and this is Hasbro now, the mother company. I mean, Hasbro, I think that has. I mean, there are little vampires that they like to suck money out of people. So
Oh
I
wow.
wish they dial a little down on the things we are getting, because whenever anything is special, anything is special. So I like having these versions of cards and everything, but I mean, it's more to people stop to spending so much money, and the stores really doesn't then don't care about this. I mean, Lord of the Rings, I would have loved to have the cards, but they were in a very prohibitive price because they were 2 times more expensive than a normal set, and it's not fair. I mean, it's just sucking dry the people who can play, who can pay, good for them, and the people who can't pay but have some problems or issues with money, or how they are, I mean, how they can spend their money, because we know everyone, someone that they don't have to eat, but they have all the cards. I mean, I think that is a little too much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's another kind of worm, but I wish they, when they were when they are making new sets, they made it more impactful and more balanced. So I wish they will dial that a little down. I mean, and in the standard, in the meta, I have been doing really great. I stopped with Golgari, and it's doing very very well for me. Sometimes I have lost like 3 games in 15, 9, 12 games. So I'm very happy with Golgari at the moment.
Okay.
In Platts 2 for the moment. For what little I can play, for me it's very quick and very fun.
Oh yeah, I'm always interested in what you're brewing and what you're personally playing. So I like to check you out in the showdowns and see specifically what you've been up to. And I'm glad to hear that you're playing Golgari because I've been picking that up as well. Um, all right. So, that's pretty much all the time we have for today. Uh, thank you each for giving us your breakdown of all those topics. I know those are topics really close to a lot of the different members of the community, no matter what portion of the community you come from, whether you're a player, LGS owner, competitor, casual, like all those things matter. Product accessibility, other card games trying to intrude on Magic's territory. I honestly think, here's my final take on that. I honestly think that when I was growing up, there were a ton of card games I picked up. We had Pokemon. I used to play WWE Raw Deal, the trading card game. I used to play Yu Yu Hakusho. Like, there were all these derivative card games that were very close to Magic that used to try to capitalize on that market. I know some of them were more successful than others. Lord of the Five Rings is probably one that had its own system that should survive, but it didn't. And there are games that are very unique.
Legend of
But
Five Rings.
Legend of the Five Rings. That's right. That's right.
I played
Thank
that
you.
one time.
Hell yeah.
One of my friends put me on a turbo fog deck.
Oh my god, dude! I played that for like 2 sets. You know what I loved about that game? I loved the artwork. The artwork in that game was
Yeah, it was
phenomenal.
pretty sick.
We could talk about this endlessly. We're actually out of time. Look, from everyone at the MTG Rebellion, don't forget about all our other content on YouTube. This podcast will be on Spotify as well by tomorrow. We have the State of the Meta, we have draft guides, we have the gameplay guides now. So look for all that throughout the week. All right, that's it from GriffinRider MTG, Optimal MTG, Luis Dragon MTG. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm Max Damage on Nines. From everyone at the MTG Rebellion, don't forget to untap, upkeep, resist.
Resist.
Good night, everybody.